Hello there. I wanted to talk today about knowing what to paint, because this came up in the masterclass a couple of weeks ago and somebody kind of had a bit of a light bulb moment there, and I thought it'd be useful to share with you. So they commented on how my advice on knowing what to paint or sculpt or whatever to put in your art was different from any advice they'd ever heard before. And what they'd always been told before was to paint subjects that people are likely to buy, whatever's popular. So they gave the example of boats or pets. And I've also seen it suggested that you should paint something that's relevant to the region that you live in, or that you should use colours that are fashionable at the moment. And that could be good advice as far as it goes, but I think there's a bigger question about what motivates you. You know, if you just want to sell as many paintings, for example, as possible, and you want to have a really broad market, you know, the biggest kind of mass market that you can, and you're happy with lower prices, then painting those kind of scenes is a good idea because there's a big audience for them. And there's always going to be people who want those kind of pictures. But there's a bit of a trade-off, because if you do that kind of thing, oh, hey, Sandra, lovely to see you. Yeah, if you're creating those kind of popular subjects, popular pictures, then you're competing with, you know, homewares shops that sell prints or, you know, giclée prints of those kinds of things. And they are mass producing, so they have very low prices. And it's always going to be impossible for you to compete on price. But in a mass market, price is the bottom line. And if you're not interested in, you know, not really interested in boats or regional scenes or fashionable colours or pets or whatever, then it's going to get repetitive and it's going to get dull. So it's not, you know, it wouldn't be what I would recommend personally. And I think it's also not how art is understood now. You know, historically, when it was art was the only way of getting a picture, and people wanted a picture of their family or their prize horse or their estate or whatever, then they commissioned a painter to do that. But now we have photography. You know, we have you know, we live in an image-saturated world, and people are looking for something a bit different from art. They want, you know, something that's unique and distinctive, that has the artist's perspective. And that's why I recommend that you kind of focus on what's unique and distinctive to you and bring in this whole process of art making. So it's more interesting to you, and it also makes it more interesting for the people looking at your work. So if you follow the three-step process of, I think I've explained all this before, of the kind of really exploring what interests you and noticing it and recording it and digesting that and playing with ideas before you get into communicating what you've discovered, then when you create those finished pieces, they say something that's really particular and specific to you and what you've seen in the world, and it carries your excitement, it carries your enthusiasm and your intrigue. You know, whatever it is that you feel about that subject, it communicates that to the people who are interested in finding out a bit more about the world. And maybe people who want mass market images of boats won't go for them, but they're not really art lovers, they're just people who love pictures of boats. If you know, art lovers want to see something that's exciting and new and unique. So yeah, I would say by all means notice that some people will recommend painting these popular subjects, but I also want to give you license to kind of step away from that, you know, to ask yourself if that's what you want to do. And by all means, if that is what you want to do, then do it. But if it isn't what excites you, then put that advice to one side and get into the full creative process. Find out that subject that really you get so excited about. Find ways of communicating that in your work, and that will be much more joyful for you in the longer term and much more rewarding for your viewers. And that's what we're all about here in Get More Creative. So do try it out and let us know how you get on. See you soon. Bye for now.